Good morning. Tim John here for the Blue Ridge Leader. We're sitting with Michael Turner. You want to go by Mike?
Mike's fine.
Democratic Chairman for Loudoun County. What's your mission? What do they want you to be able to do? What do you need? What kind of rabbit do you need to pull out of the hat or keep in the hat?
It's a great question, Tim. The elections of this past November were fairly eye-opening for the Democratic Party. I think right now we're right in the middle of wave politics in the country. We saw wave politics last year, and now we're seeing wave politics.
And that happens in Loudoun County, too.
It does. Sure. It happens all the way down at the local level.
Yeah.
I think it's time for the Democratic Party, and certainly for the Democratic Party here in Loudoun County, to get back to our roots and remember why we're Democrats and what it is we're trying to accomplish with our lives and in our community. And I personally think that it's an exciting time. It's easy to do things when the sea is calm, but when there's rough seas out there, that's when it takes some real skill.
Right.
And the people in the Loudoun County Democratic Committee that I've worked with for the last few years, my friends and my colleagues, are absolutely the most dedicated and committed public servants that I've ever been associated with. And I couldn't be happier to have the team that we have here in Loudoun County.
You mentioned getting back to the roots. When do you see a time when you know the party sort of had it together, and where were they going at that point?
Well, it isn't a matter of one approach was bad and another approach is good. It's a matter of a rapidly changing national landscape. And so all the parties need to be nimble in adjusting to that landscape.
Right. Yeah.
My personal feeling is that there has been a tectonic shift with essentially the collapse of the economy since the last presidency and the last administration. And we, meaning the government of the United States, the government of the Commonwealth, and frankly here in Loudoun County, are really working hard to come up with some real solutions as to what we're trying to accomplish. And that requires a relook at how we do business. We have assumed up until this point for the last 3 or 4 years that building the party base and execution of getting out and meeting voters and finding out what's going on at the grassroots level and building the base from the grassroots level is important. Well, it's still important. We still need to do that. But I can tell you from having knocked on thousands of doors over the last 2 or 3 years, the voters are really anxious. They're very nervous. Many of them are scared for their jobs, for their houses, for their families, and they need answers, and they want answers, and they will not tolerate public servants who are not dedicated to finding answers.
All right, I'm interested. Now, you mentioned, the tectonic shift and the economy. Locally, what do you see as some of the huge issues that might make me or someone vote a certain way, and how do the Democrats might want to, take a stance to harness some of that power?
The most important thing that voters want is solutions. That's what they're interested in.
Thanks for sticking with us. Tim John here, speaking with Mike Turner, Democratic Committee Chairman for Loudoun County. And we were talking about the changing political winds in Loudoun County and how the party would like to stay on top of it and keep harnessing votes. What's the plan?
Well, we actually have a three-point focus, and as I said, we want to get back to our democratic roots. And one of the things that I think we're all asking ourselves is, particularly with the turmoil in the national scene and the Commonwealth right now, is why are we Democrats? I became a Democrat because Democrats fundamentally believe in helping people. I mean, they really do. That is at the heart of all of our discussions. How can we genuinely help people in this community? And sure, we all get caught up in the tactics and the strategies of campaigns, and there's no question we have to be able to knock on doors and find good Democrats and get them out to the polls. All of that is still true. So the first part of a strategy that we want to move forward with is to really connect with Democrats in Loudoun County in a way that we probably haven't done before, almost down to the block level. The second thing we want to do, and this is where the next two issues begin to depart from the national landscape and the Commonwealth landscape. We believe pretty strongly that if you're going to serve, if you're going to be a public servant, then you need to serve the public. We are going to have monthly community service days. We are going to be out in the community solving real community problems in sustainable, fiscally responsible ways.
Good deal.
We cannot count on the federal government anymore. As of this past Tuesday, the federal government once again is in gridlock. The governor of this Commonwealth got elected supposedly on a, quote, detailed transportation plan, and his first official act was to announce that he is not going to even address one of the top 3 most important issues for Loudoun County residents. He's not even going to talk about transportation. So we can count on nothing out of Richmond for the next 4 years.
A healthy attitude.
Well, we have to assume that we are on our own, that Loudoun County is on its own. We need to roll up our sleeves and solve community problems together, and that will be one of the focal points of the Democratic Party. So, not necessarily rebuild the base, but reconnect the base. Educate the voter. One of the things that I think many of us were appalled by in the last year's debate was the lack of substantive, cited information and facts about the issues. The reason Americans are so, why healthcare reform is so controversial is because the American people don't understand it.
I wonder if some of the politicians do.
Well, absolutely. We are going to become the repository and the purveyors of cited factual information. If somebody wants to know what the facts are around an issue, we are going to have an issues committee that will dig down and find out those facts. If we hear erroneous information being put out by anybody who is serving the public right now, we will call them on it and we will present facts, and we will not let that sit. And the last thing is, as I mentioned, the third focus will be real community service. It will be making being a Loudoun County Democrat mean something substantively for the quality of life of the people in this community, and we will have a very active and robust community service function.
Look forward to it. Now, speaking of local, we've got some local elections coming up, the town elections. Is the party going to get involved in that, even though there aren't always out-and-out Democrat and Republican candidates in the, the mayor and council races? How do you deal with that?
Goes right back to what I just said. We are going to look and evaluate the candidates and the people who are seeking public office for their demonstrated track record, if they have a track record of public service and real sustainable solutions. And if they don't have a track record, we're going to talk to them and find out about them, and we're going to do some research to find out which candidates we feel are the best candidates to serve the public. As far as we're concerned, the politics as usual days are dead. And if we have to change the party from the grassroots up starting in Loudoun County, we're perfectly happy to do that. But politics as usual is not who my friends are and my colleagues are in the Loudoun County Democrats. We have always been about fiscally responsible, truly sustainable solutions that benefit the people of Loudoun, and that's what it's about now. And the voters can smell it a mile away. They can smell insincerity. They want authenticity. They want decision makers. They want doers. They want workers, and they're gonna see it. And we're gonna lead by action, not by talk.
Sounds like you're a lot more interested in getting things done in your own camp more than worrying about what the other guys are doing.
Yeah, the voters are tired of that. They really are. They're just exhausted with the constant rhetoric back and forth. The kind of hate-filled, bigoted vitriol we saw from Supervisor Delgadio is just not going to fly anymore. It's just not going to fly. We passed a basic anti-discrimination law in this county last week, and good on Supervisor Stevens for putting it out there. And if Supervisor Delgadio wants to trot around and spout this kind of hate-filled stuff that he does, more power to him. We're gonna solve real problems.
Well, and that's what elections are for.
You bet.
All right, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim John for Blue Ridge Leader.